Off. Meaning you want to change your bathroom from green to blue, put a new sink in it, put a new toilet bowl. That's the first part of the sentence. The second part of the sentence says any damages caused by the contractor are the responsibility of the member and the contractor. Read it that way.
Okay,
We are on air.
this when we get there.
Okay.
We have a quorum, so I'm going to call to order the regular open meeting of the United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. It's 9:30 in the morning, and this is a virtual hybrid meeting. It's both virtual in the boardroom. Cash, do you have a flag? Could you do the Pledge of Allegiance for us, please? Cash? Cash? I'm not hearing Cash. Carl, could you do the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Yes, I can. I don't have a flag, but that's okay.
Okay, there is a flag in the boardroom, so if we all look at
Okay.
the boardroom, we're fine.
All right, let's start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carl. I acknowledge that we're on the media. We have both the television and Granicus, and we will be taping this. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there any?
Second.
Thank you, Azar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I second.
Okay, we got Manny, Diane, and Carl. So is there any changes that anybody wants to the agenda? Otherwise, we'll consider it by consensus. Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Thank you, Elsie. Is there a second?
I wasn't there. I was absent. I don't know if it's important or not, but my name was sent as absent. I want to just mention that.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes? All right, I'll assume that we accept the meeting minutes. And so we're now on to the report from the chair. I gotta find it. One second, please. Okay, as this is my last meeting, I'd like to thank all the residents who have given me advice. Many of you shared your problems as well as your ideas for improvement, and I hope you have found me accessible. I want to thank the staff who have listened to my crazy ideas and even have adopted some of them. The staff has been very supportive and provided help, information, and encouragement. VMS has some very talented staff, and I really think the new hires over the last 2 years have been astounding, and I wish them luck. I'm grateful for Jeff Beaumont, our lawyer. He's been my right hand and always there when I needed advice. This has been a difficult board to lead. While United Mutual is currently fiscally sound, there are many threats such as aging infrastructure, which needs a lot of attention. This year, many have seen United as an excellent investment. Sales are through the roof. There will always be neighbor-to-neighbor problem with so many of us living so close together, but there also is a camaraderie that you get in few neighborhoods today. With COVID hopefully letting up, we'll be able to get back to our active lives and take advantage of the clubs and facilities that are unique to this village. In spite of some of the irritants, this is a wonderful place to live. and I hope residents will look with new eyes at what they have instead of what they don't. We have so much here, and the fees are reasonable. I've spent some time looking at neighboring HOA fees, and this is a bargain. It may be more than you paid 10 years ago, but what isn't? Please take the time to study the ballot and choose directors who reflect your ideals. Everyone needs to step back and think about the good things instead of the minor complaints and enjoy life. Please stay active and committed to the village and the boards. Your voice is important. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this community and to hold this position. Thank you. All right, we have the open forum now. Elise, are you running the open forum for us, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, we have one email comment from Ann Beltran of 8540, and she wrote, I am co-chair of the Concerned Citizens New Energy Action Subcommittee, and we are watching the EV charger situation in the village very closely. My understanding is that United is going to be canceling a large order for EV chargers, in part subsidized by SoCal Edison, and intended to be located throughout mutual property. This is being done in order that GRF take up the issue and responsibility with a view to a smaller number of chargers being placed on the clubhouse properties. Our Energy Action Group agrees with this strategy. My only concern is that we do everything we can to get some DC rapid chargers in the mix of installations. I'm told a level 2 fast charger draws 7 kilowatts an hour, which would give our electric vehicle about 30 miles of driving distance per hour of charging. So if I attend a meeting, eat at Restaurant 19, or engage in other clubhouse activity, an hour's charging is great and may give the daily boost needed to the electric vehicle. However, for people who want a longer charge, having the availability of a DC rapid charger would be very attractive. In a half hour, they could get a much more substantial boost. For that reason, GRF should be encouraged to look at a mix of chargers at each location. If for any reason GRF does not take up this issue, then I trust that you on the mutual will resurrect the effort to put more chargers here on our properties. Thank you for the work you do. And that concludes emailed comments for today.
Okay, Grant or Cheryl, is there anyone in the room that wants to speak, please?
Yes. The first comment will be from Parnas Azarnia, man number 922A.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I want to talk about two co-op right now because I own one and I bought another one. I'm moving to the new one. The one that I'm living right now is 400, and last meeting I talked about my problem with plumbing in my bathroom, which is every month is rustic and doesn't work right. And after the meeting, next day or other days, somebody called me, I forgot the name. He says, I'm the plumber supervisor. I'll become myself in person and see what's the problem. Then they make appointment. He made appointment for Monday, 10 o'clock. Nobody come, nobody show up, nobody call me. And I called Jeff Parker's office and I talked to the lady assistant and I says, what happened? I called the resident service. I says, what happened? Nobody respond to me. That's one item. Then in 9228 that I'm moving right now, is they call me, they says it's time to remove your old water heater because it's 11 years old and you're gonna get a new one. They make appointment. I wait over there, a gentleman come, a plumber, and I don't know anything about plumbing, but I see he has a struggle to do the job. Then he put it there and I have a photo of it. In the plate under that is wrinkle and they push it hardly. I says, why is that? He says, because your room is very small, is not a standard. I says, there was one before. What happened? Then I didn't sign the blue paper. I says, I'm not happy. Somebody should come and look at that. and the other plumber comes same time to do my bathroom. They talk Spanish, and he says something wrong and told me he didn't do it right. Then I call citizen service. I talked to the supervisor of water heater. Yesterday morning, somebody else come and change it and fix it correct way. Appreciate that. But takes like some time. I don't know why they send somebody who doesn't know what he's doing. Then another thing is that lady, I forgot the name. She says, you want to enjoy your life here. I'm doing it. I love it. But I need to do something in a new manner that I'm moving downstairs because I have osteoporosis. I fall down, I have fracture, I have bulging disc, and I couldn't use the stairs anymore. I'm moving downstairs because of that. Then somebody called me from alteration and says you have to get letter from your doctor. My doctor wrote a letter that is necessary for me downstairs. It's dangerous stairs. I want to do just move the bathtub and put the shower there, but they says you have to all email. They says you have to find a contractor. I couldn't find any contractor available, and I don't know how to do this stuff. English is my second language, and I emailed
3
them.
minutes have expired.
Okay. I think we've got the gist of what you're saying, and I understand you're having plumbing problems, and we will try to get them rectified. We are not able to provide you with a contractor. That is a very difficult thing for us to do, and we just can't do that. There is a list that you can get from Manor Alterations that Third has put together, and you may want to take a look at that. That's our best offer. Okay, is there anyone else that wants to speak?
Yes,
I didn't complete my.
there is a next member is Jin Sung Book, and that is 409D.
I'm sorry that you were unable to finish, but we only have time for 3 minutes per, and we will try to answer your problem. Thank you. Go ahead, Jan.
Yes, my name is Jack Arnold, and I'm speaking for Sun Li-yong, and because he has a cataract surgery at 10 a.m. This morning, and he must leave, and I am speaking on his behalf. I'm one of his neighbors, and the basic question is space for a golf cart, and I would like to, just before we get into this, state that we had an assistant to the CEO who got married and moved to Arizona several years ago, and she came at my request to the area that I'm speaking about with a person from our association, and they walked through it and looked at it, and I took pictures of it, and it was to be a place where there's a tree growing, a bush tree, and we need to, what we asked to do was to remove the tree and have it at the end of a carport that we could put enough stuff into the tree as far as electrical outlets, etc., that we could have 4 carts parked there. Today, we have cars, or not cars, but carts sometimes parked where cars belong or could belong, and they park there for 2 months at a time. And they don't have them in their own carports because they have their cars in their carport. But anyway, it's in cul-de-sac 48, and I have pictures that I have currently that I took just to get different angles of what I'm talking about and the size of the area. She had planned to have it done, and she left, got married and went to Arizona, and as a result, nothing has ever been done. That was very disappointing, but also now that we have a problem, or I don't, but Sun Myung has a problem with not only his cataract surgery today, but he also has problems playing golf, and he loves to play golf. And he tries to do it 1 or 2 times a week, but he's also difficult walking and back and forth to where he has to currently park his golf cart to where he lives, which is 411C Avenida Castilla.
3 minutes have expired.
Pardon?
3 minutes have expired.
Your 3 minutes have expired. We only allow 3 minutes of talking. So we understand there's a problem, and we will be taking it up. Thank you very much for your input.
Okay, and if you need,
Grant, anyone else?
Yes, the next speaker is Bridget O'Hara, 2149F.
Good morning, everybody. I've been here about 10 years, and in my cul-de-sac, I have been the one who's kind of, excuse me. I have tried to, I've planted my own garden beds. I do not want to pressure the landscaping department any more than they're already pressured, and this is what my neighbors are asking me to ask you today. At this point in time, we've been here 55 years. We have an enormous landscaping department, and these are my 2 words. We need to identify and we need to replicate. We have fabulous designers working on the ground already here that know how to stage and plant. If you go to the golf course, I'm a golfer. If you go to Club 19, if you look at Club 2, the entire area is gorgeous. It's fertilized, it's staged. How? By an enormous nursery we have on Moulton. The plants are sitting there for 10 years, and we never get them through gates 1 through 6. Our gate entries are appalling. And the areas where I live in the back, 2149, I'm on a 1-story. The 3-story buildings have these little tiny squares. They're disgusting. I'm about ready to just start planning myself. I understand how stretched everyone is, but we're not identifying the designers we have in-house already on salary. And we need to replicate whatever they're doing. They have a special team that works on the golf course. And I know that for a fact because it's not showing through gates 1 through 6. We need to take that team and have them train our landscapers that are working gates 1 through 6. We can't even afford lawn clipping catchers. I'm about ready to buy one. I'll pay for it if we can't fund it. It's absurd. And I'm sick of it. They can't even sharpen the edges. And you're welcome to come by and look at my cul-de-sac and see for yourself the difference between gate 12, is that what it is? Clubhouse 2, is it gate 12? Am I correct? And gate 1 through 6. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do have laser cutters. We'll go into that. Is there anyone else that needs to speak?
That concludes our open forum speakers.
Okay. Jeff Parker, do you want to answer the ones you want to answer, please?
Sure. We'll start off with Ms. Zarnia. Hopefully I pronounced that right. We'll work on that specific one. We'll try to coordinate her with, get her some assistance with regards to her manor alterations. And with the plumbing, I'll just follow back to make sure that we have everything completed on that. So hopefully we can address that. And I have her phone number, so we'll follow up on there. With regards to the space for the golf courses, if the gentleman can leave the pictures, that would be appreciated. We'll follow up and take a look at that and make a recommendation back to your M&C as to whether or not you want to look at taking away a tree and creating more golf cart parking spaces. That's something that we've been looking at throughout the village, so that is something that the committee can take a look at and make a recommendation to the board. And with regards to the last inquiry with regards to the landscaping, we'll get some specific information and we'll coordinate that through our landscape department to take a look at the specifics that was mentioned in her statement.
Okay, thank you very much. Carl, you want to discuss something? Go ahead.
I would just like to address myself to the lady who said she's having a tough time trying to find somebody to just do a bathroom or do some small modifications to a bathroom. I feel her pain. It's very difficult in this village to find a contractor who's willing to do small jobs because the permit process and what have you takes them as long for a small job as it does for a large complete renovation of a unit. So as a result of that, many of these contractors are unwilling to do the small jobs. And I know that from personal experience because I'm trying to find somebody myself. So I think that, as I've specifically indicated to Jeff and to Robbie and to Siobhan regarding this whole process, if we can do a little bit more work with regard to trying to help these contractors be able to get this work, and maybe they'll be able to to do the small jobs, okay? But right now, they're very far and few between that are willing to do that. Thanks.
Are there any other board members who would like to speak to answer questions here? Okay. Azar, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted just to back up the last person that talked about the landscaping, especially if you're looking around, Mr. Parker, like gate 3, the mortuary even is on the right side of us, and we are arriving. It looks like not good looking for going to a place that you want to live. It's nice if just Mr. Parker get a car and go around all of these gates and things and see what they can bring a little bit more beauty to this beautiful village. We really appreciate if you give a report to us from your view, that what you see specifically and as a CEO. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we will move on to the open forum. Manuel, would you give the responses to the open forum speakers, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the last board meeting, there were 5 members that commented on items that they were concerned about. 2 of them required follow-up by staff. The other 3 were answered at the meeting. I'll describe the responses to the 2 that were concerned. The first one was Rhoda Lindner at 213C, and she said that her cul-de-sac was scheduled to be painted, and she wanted to know when the owners would be able to pick paint colors. Staff contacted her, made her aware of what the choices were, and she ended up being taken care of and was very appreciative of staff's quick response and satisfied with the outcome. The next one involved Nancy Klein at 2051A, and this one's a little more involved. This is a situation where the member, her mobility has deteriorated, and the entrance to her unit is at the sidewalk entrance. You have steps going up with handrails, and then you've got block wall for the landscaping there. And so it's a difficult area. In order to put in a ramp, which she is requesting, it would have to be put in the common area. That's the only location that would take care of that. And in situations like this, if it's to help somebody that has a handicap problem, it can be looked into. And so what she's been instructed to do, she's been instructed to submit a variance application to the committee and United Board for approval. The application must be submitted with a set of plans, including foundation, elevation drawings from an engineer for the ramp, and any proposed handrails. Additionally, Ms. Klein would need to submit a letter from her physician that states the ramp is needed for a medical condition disability. Staff is currently following up with Ms. Klein to share the findings and to discuss the possible next steps to take care of it. Of the other 3 comments, They all dealt with primarily with the assessments and the next year's budget. One individual in particular, Louis Sharkansky, 18E, he wanted to know what was happening with the budget savings, both in operating funds and in reserves, because of the cutbacks and the shutdowns that we had during COVID-19. The main reason I want to respond to this, even though he got an answer at the meeting, is that this is commonly misunderstood. And the answer he got from a director was that it was not legal to return savings to residents. And that's not accurate. The best governing document that I can refer to that clearly explains how any savings or any surplus result from a year, how they can be applied, is that in the occupancy agreement in Article 3, it talks about excess carrying charges. And although I think this was instituted primarily for convenience as to how the mutual would handle it, but what it does say is that for any fiscal year where there is an excess, that the member agrees that all or any portion of the amount assessed and collected by the mutual in excess of the amount required to meet the anticipated expenses, including reserves, of the mutual shall be applied by the board of directors, and here's the catcher, in its sole discretion. And unfortunately, most of the mutuals, most of the directors, they're quick to collect, but difficult to use those credits in future budgets. But let me continue. In its sole discretion to reduce the anticipated expenses, including reserves, of the mutual as determined by the board of directors in the next succeeding fiscal year. And so what I'm saying is that, for example, if it was determined we had surpluses that were generated in 2020, then we could consider that in setting the budget for 2022. Last year, in 2020, we generated close to $4 million in a reserve surplus.
Point of order, is this the response to the...
I'm answering a member. Anyway, none of that was taken into consideration. So again, I want to clarify the misconception about savings and how they're applied. That concludes my remarks on the questions raised by members at the last meeting. And Azar, I had the floor. You were out of order. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Point of order.
Okay, we're going to move on to the update from the VMS meeting. Cynthia Rupert has joined us. Please go ahead, Cynthia.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Woo, finally. Well, good morning to all the honorable board members and Madam President. I'm here to present the update from the VMS board to the United Board of Directors. Next slide, please, Grant. First, we want to review the relevant KPIs or performance indicators. Next slide. Starting with the question that always pops up, resident service calls. If you'll notice, the total number of calls through June of this year, 267,328. Gate clearance received the highest, which is continuing to happen. Hopefully we can get dwelling live or something else running more efficiently at 47%. You'll see also that it's followed by resident services. And that, again, is in the process of trying to refine it and get people to understand what really should go through resident services and not. Then we have the security dispatch, and then basically broadband, which is going to pretty much be the same most of the time. So all in all, resident calls are hopefully over time decreasing as they understand the processes and get online and use that more. Next slide, please. The completed service orders through June of this year We've done 88% of the 62,000 service orders that were received, and that has been completed in 20 days. If you'll look down to janitorial, they received the highest, and they completed, they had the highest percentage completed, and they were followed by both electrical and plumbing. And then, of course, we dropped to landscaping, which is always an issue, but it's improving, and you can see there that the ticket number for percentage of completion is almost 85%. Next slide, please. Staff in the landscape department are working diligently to reduce the number of requests from residents, and the graph shows that there's a noticeable decline over the last few years. We've gone from about 21,200 down to 13,800. So that's a significant change, which the landscape department should be really proud. Next slide, please. By implementing a few changes, the landscape department is reducing the requests and the turnaround time. They've implemented a Friday clipping and leaf pickup program for residents. They now have a higher response crew to take on services that can be completed in 30 minutes or less. And they're also educating residents about what current service level increases, create awareness about when the crews are going to be in the area and what they're going to do. Next slide, please. Resale activity is up. The processing time has continued to improve. And as you can see, between 2020 and now, we have 105 versus in 56, and then in 2019, 83. So the drop has now increased and superseded 2019. Next slide, please. By implementing these efficiencies, they have helped the increase in sales and the increase in processing time. They have implemented a credit report summary that keeps anybody above a 700 plus credit score. It minimizes what is required. The first pages of escrow instructions have been replaced with longer escrow processes, and the summary page of their investment documents, again, it's in summary instead of in detail. They also have implemented using DocuSign for board-approved resale applications. Next slide, please. In addition to all that we've heard already, we've also implemented operational enhancements that are focused on cost savings. Next slide, please. The enhancements basically are proactively looking at things that need to be improved by the staff. We are using this review of performance indicators to help, again, keep the operational processes as productive, proactively processed as we can possibly do. Residents and board member input is being processed and listened to. Enhancements that we have put in place are client service meetings, manner alterations bulletins, restructured the bus routes, and a vehicle decal program that's being decommissioned. Next slide, please. The client service meetings are now held bi-monthly with the board executives, with GRF, Third, and United. And that allows BMS to really discuss key topics in a timely manner so that we can see what's going on and learn what we need to do and give feedback. So they include such topics as you can see: financial services, maintenance and construction, manner alterations, etc. Next slide, please. Manner Alterations now has put out a news bulletin twice a month. The intent is to inform members, realtors, contractors, any important alteration issues, rule changes, also a permit log that allows you to see the status of the permits that have been submitted for approval. In addition, residents can look at this on the website. If they just go to residents manner alterations, and then they'll see there's a news bulletin. Next slide, please. The bus route has been restructured. As of July 19th, because there was such low demand, they have modified it temporarily. They've adjusted the commercial routes 1 and 2, and they've temporarily eliminated Route 3. However, this is going to be evaluated over the next few months, and if it is put in place as a permanent adjustment, we'll save $60,000 on personnel and $10,000 on fuel and vehicle maintenance. Next slide, please. The vehicle decal program is basically being decommissioned because we now have a better technology in place. The RFID technology, the license plate recognition, and the Plate Smart all give us a better efficiency rate because we don't have to have the employees assist as much at the gate. Now, 87% of the vehicles don't require any assistance as they're set up with the newer technology. The safety benefits of this: it validates authorized vehicles. It deactivates RFIDs when someone moves out of the community, and it eliminates the decal tampering. This saves approximately $40,000 annually. Next slide, please. In conclusion, VMS hears you, and we take action. Current initiatives underway are quality audits, making sure that we're functioning efficiently, operational enhancements to improve cost savings wherever possible. We are listening to resident suggestions for cost savings because it can always help with the people around here and the knowledge and workforce. Nobody is left out and can always bring to us suggestions that might help. And feel free to contact VMS at info@lagunawoodsvillage.com or contact your board representative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was an excellent update for VMS, and we really appreciate it. Okay, the CEO.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
From her. There was in the slide that 87% of the cars have decal. Is there any reason why we are not getting 100%? The percent that Sanita, do you know why we cannot get 100%? Is there any reason?
Yeah, there is a reason. People who lease cars do not want to put decals on them.
Oh, okay. So we have like 13% of all cars in the Laguna Woods is racer cars?
I don't know, but that's one of the reasons given that they don't want a decal is RFD is because they lease the car and they don't want to pay $25 each time they get a new car.
Well, that makes sense, but I wasn't sure it's 13%, but thank you so much.
Okay, and there are some other people who feel like the $25 is a lot of money. I'm not sure it really isn't, but that's what they feel. Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you.
But there are, may I speak on this issue? There are, I know that used car sales just waive their IDs coming in, and they are not registered. So causing when we start talking about it, report to the security has no clue who they are. That's a loophole that some people, some residents are using our parking lot as their own used car parking lot. It has becoming a lot better now, but we need to keep track of who those cars are. Otherwise, they may bring some kind of cars that legally not allowed here. Okay, that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Okay, I guess we're ready for you, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, President Margolis, and to the board and residents. Good morning. Have a few updates. First one was at the last meeting, the board had mentioned trying to get just a quick update on NCB and the loan process that was part of United prior, and the announcement by NCB that as of August 15th, they were going to cease operations with regards to loan applications within United. and with a time frame to conclude all of those that were in the hopper and getting all of those escrows closed by the 27th, 28th of September, trying to hit their October 1 timeframe. I just wanted to express one great thanks to our staff for processing all of those applications. We are now down to, with regards to those 6 that haven't closed escrow yet, 5 of those 6 are up for board approval signature processing. They've gone through everything. They're on that. There's only 1 transaction remains to be submitted to the board. Once that is submitted to the board, we'll get that processed this week, and hopefully we'll have everything concluded with regards to addressing the NCB cases within the village. The process, as we were working on that, the staff was able to continue to process everything in United, as well as the processes of anybody coming in for a cash sale with regards to United as well. So I think we're at a point now that we feel comfortable that we're going to be able to conclude with all of the NCB financed applications and get those processed and through the board approval in time to meet the deadline that was established for September 27th. The good news is that the team is still continuing to process more applications and more sales than we have in the last couple of years. So our sales are continuing to be up, so that's good news for the village as a whole. The second item that was asked for a quick update was on insurance. And I just wanted to indicate that tomorrow we're going to have an all boards meeting in which the property insurance will be introduced by Marsh to both GRF and United with the process that they have gone through, the companies that they have reached out to, and the rates that we're seeing coming back in with regards to property insurance. So we're all set for that meeting tomorrow. Then there will be a second meeting, which will be held on the 24th of the month. That'll be a special meeting, all boards meeting, but also a special meeting of the United Board, so that you can make your final decisions with regards to what we're going to bind, not only for property insurance, but as a group. We also have our general liability and excess liability levels that we'll have to make a determination on that. So tomorrow is a big first day to see where we've accomplished, what we've accomplished, and how far along we are with regards to getting quotes with regards to especially the property insurance tomorrow for United, as well as GRF included in that. So again, all boards meeting tomorrow on insurance at that's 1:30 tomorrow. And then on the 24th, the same scenario will be at all boards meeting, just give a general overview, and then both GRF, United, and Third will have their own special meetings so they can make any kind of decisions that are necessary to bind that. And then finally, before I pass it over to Siobhan, I just want to again thank, this is, I know, the last kind of formal board meeting for some of the board members, and again I want to thank you for working with VMS and your participation and your dedication as a volunteer to the United Board, and how important that is. And again, from my perspective and VMS's perspective, I want to thank everybody for that. And I'll turn it over to Siobhan.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, it is our privilege this morning to use my update to introduce you to the new members of the Maintenance and Construction Department. We have a new Director of Maintenance and Construction and other key managers that have joined the department recently. With that, I'm going to ask Grant to start our video introducing you to our new managers.
Baltazar Bart Mejia Village Management Services Facility Manager, has more than 30 years of civil engineering experience that includes such municipal engineering fields as water distribution, storm drains, environmental compliance, subdivision, buildings, and more. Bart comes to VMS from the city of Costa Mesa, where he managed the capital improvement program as city engineer. Prior to that, he managed the Water Services Capital Improvement Program for the city of Garden Grove. His skill set includes short and long-range planning, capital improvement programming, project development to delivery, project and personnel management, grant writing, budget preparation, and more. Bart manages electrical and electromechanical systems and equipment, monitors existing equipment, identifies safety and energy-related cost-benefit improvements, and provides project management of electrical-related improvements, upgrades, and construction projects for both housing mutuals and GRF.
When I first visited this community, I noticed beautiful landscapes, well-maintained buildings and roads, and vibrant and active residents. This community embraces technology, promotes sustainability, and is taking steps to reduce its carbon footprint. I am happy to have been selected to this position and to continue with these goals. With your support, I hope to also apply my experience to improve in other areas such as resiliency, implementing smart energy measures, and taking proactive steps to extend the life expectancy of facilities and their components while continuing to provide unparalleled customer service. Thank you.
Maria Popescu, Village Management Services' new Community Services Supervisor, has more than 10 years' experience in communications, public relations, and marketing, as well as 3 years' experience in housing solutions. Her skill set includes operations, logistics, project and budget management, and more. Prior to joining VMS, Maria was a Special Projects Manager, Logistics Manager, and Associate Director of Logistics for Illumination Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to breaking the cycle of homelessness by providing housing options and navigation, behavioral health treatment, recuperative care, and substance abuse counseling. At VMS, Maria is instrumental in facilitating automation of the resales and leasing processes, which today are largely manual, redundant, and paper-based.
I feel so fortunate and happy to be part of the community services team here at Laguna Woods Village. I love working with and for people. As a team supervisor, I am seeking to identify technological advancement opportunities within the department, implement automation of resale, leasing, and other department processes to the maximum extent possible, and to effectively communicate with real estate professionals and escrow officers. Laguna Woods Village residents' experience starts with us in the Community Services Department when they first purchase or lease. This first impression lasts with them forever. We have the duty to create the most pleasant, memorable customer experience. The decision to move to Laguna Woods Village was made before they meet us, but we have to make sure we reinforce that positive decision with the quality of our services. I am obsessed with efficiency and effectiveness of department operations. I hope that my expertise in project management will improve the workflow in the department and positively impact the productivity standards, the staffing, the reporting, and company results.
Manuel Gomez, Village Management Services' new director of the Maintenance and Construction Department, has more than 30 years' experience in serving municipal public works departments. As the Maintenance and Transportation Manager for the City of Santa Ana, Manuel provided oversight of the maintenance, development services, and transportation functions of the Public Works Agency. As a Senior Project Manager for Interwest Consulting, he served as Interim Public Works Director for the cities of Laguna Beach and San Clemente. As Director of Public Works for the City of Irvine, Manuel provided leadership and policy direction for the development, construction, and maintenance of various public works infrastructure projects and programs, and was responsible for an annual operating budget of $65 million and a capital improvement program of more than $450 million. He worked closely with Woodbridge Village Association, a mutual benefit nonprofit corporation and private homeowners association with more than 9,600 homes, and an overall population of approximately 30,000 residents, Manuel is responsible for VMS's enormous maintenance and construction department, which includes maintenance operations and services, damage restoration, projects division, and manor alterations.
Hi, I'm Manuel Gomez. One of my primary goals as your new Maintenance and Construction Department Director is to work with our dedicated staff to enhance our customer service interactions with our residents. We understand the importance of keeping your facilities and your home in the best condition possible for you to enjoy. I look forward to working with the boards and serving the residents of Laguna Woods Village. Thank you.
Koshida, Village Management Services' new Maintenance Operations Manager, has 17 years of experience applying extensive planning and problem-solving skills to enhance business processes and day-to-day activities. His skill set includes project and construction management, budget oversight, associate development, multifamily operations, capital improvement, and commercial management. Prior to joining VMS, Co was maintenance manager for Brookfield Properties, multi-site maintenance supervisor for City Realty Trust, and more. At VMS, Co manages the Maintenance Operations Division, including paint and prior to paint, carpentry, extermination, general maintenance, and interior component programs.
Hello, my name is Ko. It's an honor to serve the residents of the village. I'm interested in learning from the residents and providing solutions to issues that will arise. It is my value to do the job the first time and in a timely manner. I look forward to serving the residents of the village and growing the maintenance operation department.
That concludes our introductions this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And as you can see in my opening statements, we have acquired some very special work staff this year, and we need to make sure that we keep them going and happy here. Thank you. We now are moving on to the consent calendar. There are 3 things on the consent calendar. Do we want to vote for them individually? Probably. So do I have a motion to vote on A of the consent calendar?
I so move.
Is there anyone? Okay.
I will second it.
Thank you, Netta. Is there anyone that has an objection to A of the consent calendar to approve the review of the subleasing and transfer trust documents that Elsie, Diane, and Azar have looked at? Okay. It's so moved. We go on to the recommendations of landscape. They recommend the recommendations of removal of a tree and 2 tree removals. And 1 tree removal and one is, they're denying both tree removals. 1 tree they will, it's because of the bees, and they say bees are here. And the second tree removal was because someone was tripping on the stumps. They are going to surface grind the stumps. Is there any objection to this? Okay, so moved. And the last one is the recommendation from to approve the recording of a lien against a member. Is there any objection to this? Therefore, so moved. Now we have a change to the resolution to update the committee appointments. Are there any changes that anybody wants to make to that committee? I have made numerous changes. Seeing as they're only going to last a few weeks, I think we can just move on that. Is there any problem with the committee listing? Okay, we're on to unfinished business. So we're on to 5511, which the treasurer, Cash, go ahead, please. Cash?
We are dissolving the communication committee.
That is
Why
correct.
are we doing that? That was my question.
They have never met. The secretary has taken on the breeze and has taken care of it and does go to the GRF Communication Committee meeting. And so it was redundant for us to have a separate communication committee.
Okay.
Is that a problem with you?
So the problem is, we never met, so I'm one of the members, and I was just waiting for someone to get the meeting organized.
Yeah, we felt there was never felt that it was needed to have a meeting, and so we have decided that because they go to the media, we will just, the GRF, we will use the GRF meeting like we do for other things. Okay. Unfinished business, the 55. Azar, have you reviewed the financials?
Yes, I did.
Diane, have you reviewed the financials? Diane? Diane Casey, have you reviewed the financials? You are muted, Diane. Okay, I will make an assumption that she has done it. Do you have any awareness of it, Azar?
I think she did because she was in the finance meeting. If she had any problem, probably she would say.
All right, thank you very much for your input. Cash, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question on that item 12B, like boy.
We haven't gotten to B, we're on A right now. Thank you. So we will go on to take care of A. Is there anybody against it, 12A?
Yes. Director Armendariz is voting no on that because we're still not compliant in a couple of areas with that requirement. So my vote is no. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got your vote. Anyone else that would like to vote no? Okay, it passes. We're going on to B now, which is entertain a motion to update the financial requirements for members, guarantors. Elsie, please go ahead with that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one correction. It's a Scrivener. Didn't get into the final copy that you'll find in your package on page 9 of 20, item number 12B. This was to clarify the requirements for potential purchasers who were needed a guarantor, and it was just a clarification of something that that has long been our policy, which is that if a person needs a guarantor, they still need certain minimum income and asset requirements. And the part that we were changing and that passed through this committee last month was that the purchaser, because the guarantor does not take the place of the purchaser. So for members that require guarantors, the minimum liquid, marketable, and or income producing assets of at least $75,000 plus the manor purchase price. And we accidentally left in at the close of escrow. And if you look at your package, you can see where at the close of escrow, while it's in red, it hasn't been crossed out. And so I just wanted to make that, and I've already spoken to staff, and that's going to be corrected. And it doesn't change the substance, it's just kind of confusing, sloppy language because we added the other wording. So I just wanted the last 5 words of under guarantors, which is C in the financial requirements policy, under C2, which is shareholder financial requirements for the occupying shareholders when they have a guarantor. B, under 2, strike the last 5 words, which is at the close of escrow. So I just wanted to point that out, and I already spoken to staff, and that was again, it was just a Scrivener. And of course, in the committee, we went through this. So that's all I wanted to put in there.
Okay, so do you move this resolution?
I move this resolution.
Is there a second?
I have a question.
We have to have a second first, then we can have your questions. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Carl. Okay, now we can have discussion. Go ahead, Cash.
Okay, what is the reasoning behind dropping the income requirements? We don't need to do that. Why get
we have
high
not,
lower?
These are for people, excuse me, Madam Chair, may
Go
I
ahead,
answer that?
Elsie. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Cash, the reason we aren't lowering it, it's always been this way. This is for people who require guarantors. In other words, just because you need a guarantor doesn't mean you can come to us completely without income and completely without assets. It's just those amounts are reduced to $24,000 for the income and $75,000 plus the manor purchase price. These are both drops, as you know. Normally it's $40,000. It's dropped to 24, and $75,000 plus the purchase price versus $125,000 plus the purchase price. And so this is only for people that require guarantors. Because you're right, we don't want to lower. They're already pretty low, the income requirements and the asset requirements. So that part has not changed. That's always been that way. So does that answer your question?
Cash?
Not quite, because we are lowering item 2A.
No, we're not. No, we're not. That's the same. 2A.
It used to be 40 before.
It's only a correction to the wording of this to make it clearer to the escrow and realtors. This was no changes to the values in the that we've always accepted.
And
my question was more on the annual income.
Cash has always been 24,000.
It has always been 24,000?
Yes.
For people that require guarantors, yes. This is only for people that require guarantors. Now, you know, the guarantors have their own somewhat inflated minimum. The guarantor, say on this person right here that makes 24,000 and has 75,000 plus the manor purchase price. They want to buy a house, but they don't follow. They don't want to. Sorry, not a house. Excuse me, Juanita. They want to buy a share in the corporation. This person comes along and they don't qualify because they only make 24,000 and don't have enough in assets. Well, then they get a guarantor, and then the guarantor in turn has to show that they make a certain amount of money, which I don't have in my hand. Well, I do have in my hands, but I don't want to find it right now. The guarantors have to make more money than a normal buyer would have to make, plus they have to have more in assets. Now, the guarantor does not replace the purchaser. The purchaser still has to have some income and some assets, but then the guarantor guarantees any further problems, any financial, if they stop paying their assessments or they go into foreclosure or whatever, the guarantor has enough assets and enough income to cover that. So this 24,000 has always been in place, but that's only for people who have guarantors. Everybody else still has to have the $40,000 and the $125,000 plus the cost of purchase. Is that clearer?
That's clear, but I would like to also know why we are dropping item 2B from 125 to 75.
For the same reason, and we're not dropping it. It's always been that way, Cash. That's why they have to get a guarantor, because they haven't got enough income and they haven't got enough assets. But they have to have some assets, which is 75 plus the manor purchase price. If the manor costs 150, then they would have to have 225 in assets and 24 to qualify for a guarantor. And then a guarantor has its own qualifications in terms of income.
Cash, we have made no change.
Thank you.
The numbers.
You're welcome.
They are what they were. Azar, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Could you briefly just clarify why we need at all any minimum. For example, if a son unconditionally guarantor a mother, why that mother should have? I am sure there is some reason for people that they said they have to have 24,000, for example. But most of them that I am signing right now as a resale, I can see all of those guarantors is unconditionally, they are guaranteed that they are supporting this person with the income that they have. Could you quickly tell me or remind me what is the reason behind this minimum?
The minimum was set many years ago in order to ensure that these people would be able to pay part of the assessment and that they would be able to stay in the place. If they had no income and the guarantor did not assist them, then we would have to spend a lot of money removing them. So we wanted to have them have a basic coverage for it. Now, this can all be changed if you go through governing docs next year. You can make the changes to what you think would be better, but we are trying to ensure that we don't have any foreclosures because that costs a lot of money and time, legal fees, et cetera, and we never make our money completely back when we have to put somebody out.
Yeah.
Okay?
And may I, Madam Chair?
Sure, go ahead.
And what Sue says is absolutely correct. But the other reason, I know it's sad to think this way, but it usually doesn't happen with children, but it can happen. Children can die and not provide for the parent who's they put in. This is just a long established thing in United where it's just too dangerous to have, for many reasons, to have children buy a place and have the person as a member. Now, if the children or the guarantors or whoever want to be, they can buy the place themselves and make a different arrangement for the parents or whoever it is. But this is for people that want to be members of this village and they want to be owner occupiers, because that's what we're here for. We're a community of retired people, and they need to have a little bit of money to get them by. But who knows what's going to happen to the guarantors? There could be a divorce. Their businesses could go out of business. Businesses could go under. There are many things that can happen to guarantors, and this is to ensure that there's some kind of continuity and that hopefully the person can stay in their home even without the guarantor.
Thank you for explanation.
You're welcome.
Andre, go ahead.
Yes, buying a used right here is no different from buying a unit outside of our community. Sometimes I think we consider too many unexpected minor issues. Other mortgage companies, they don't think about these things. They don't talk about these things. Yes, it may happen, but there's no need to worry about those things. That's why I'm thinking, we seems to put a lot of restrictions on these requirements. And as we all know that the more restrictions we put, the less demand we have and the lower the price will be. That's just for consideration. Let's not put out too many additional restrictions and make it difficult for the resident to buy a property here. Thank you very much.
We will move on. Now I will take a vote. Cash, how do you vote on this?
We're okay, yes.
Elsie?
Yes.
Netta?
Yes.
Manuel?
Yes.
Azar?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Andre?
Yes.
It's unanimous. We'll move on to 13B. Okay, 13B is the acceptance of the, we did B. We're on 13C. Wait a second, new business.
12C, Madam Chair.
12C. Okay, we're on 12C, which is the approval of the, entertain a motion to approve the United Business Plan. I'd like to make an amendment to it that we take Plan B, but we add back in the $5 to the contingency fund. And the reason I'm saying that is that I've got an update from the insurance people that our insurance will be below what it was last year. And I think we should be putting in money to the contingency fund. So I'd like to amend 13, where am I? 12C.
Excuse me,
And,
out of point of order. We've already approved at the last special board meeting the
Yeah, but we
plan
can
as
amend
proposed
it
here
at the-
without that, okay? That was an official act.
Yeah.
So you can't
can
amend
amend
it
it.
now, all of a sudden,
Why can't we can amend it.
because we already approved it
We
by the
have to
board.
put it on. It
It's
was a-
already been approved by the board without that.
Then why do we have it on 28 days and why do we vote again if we can't amend it?
I don't know
So-
why,
so-
because it doesn't make any sense. We already had the special meeting.
You-
I just left it on here
If you'd
just to
like-
go through the motions.
If you'd like me to answer that, I can. So, to the board, you have to adopt the resolution. You did not adopt a resolution when you took the action at your special meeting. There was no resolution you made a choice on which option, and before you today is that option that you chose,
Oh.
you directed, and the resolution that adopts that.
Okay, Jeff, then that was a mistake because we voted on it as a board.
I know you
I
did.
proposed
I'm
that
not-
we
I'm-
adopt Plan B,
I know you did.
and we
I'm not-
voted on it and passed it.
You did. I'm not suggesting that you didn't do that. And we are following up today with a resolution that confirms that vote.
Okay. Is there a second for my amendment?
I second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
I feel that it's, okay. Go ahead. Andre had his hand up first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this, personally, I don't like to reduce the contingency fund, all right? And however, during the meeting, we've discussed this over and over again. We agreed that option B is the one that we would like to choose, and the VMS didn't propose anything else. So at this point, to come up and the directive from the board is to reduce back to the normal last year's assessment amount. So that was the direction we give them. I don't know why we changed the direction again, and without going through the board approval, and suddenly this comes out. Personally, I would like to see the option D, which says we will improve process. We will reduce the tickets from 8,844 tickets to 3,000, and that will reduce 65% of the workload. Hopefully, we will reduce 50% of the staff, and we can transfer them to other opportunities if there's no insufficient staff there's a staff shortage. We don't have to fill them in. And if the other department has staff shortage, we can move these resident services.
Are you talking to the amendment that I have just proposed? You are not talking to it.
Yes, I am talking about alternatives. If you are talking about alternatives, I don't like this one. But I'm forced to vote for the contingency fund reduction because that's the only options that make sense to me. All right. To say that we want to add $5 to the assessment, that's against our initial requirements. Okay, so I'm voting for no.
That was a very close vote. Okay, Azar?
Doesn't matter whether
Go
it's
ahead.
close or not. It's against.
Okay, Azar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding to, of course, we didn't have much choices. I wasn't a fan of taking contingency off as well. However, compared to reducing service from resident, I prefer this one. I want to address what you said. The insurance might be this year, you said, is lower. You received that one. However, please consider that we are encouraging everybody buy HOS 6. So that's another issue that people should consider they have to pay it. If you consider that one to add it to lower insurance that cover that equally, like residents pay exactly the same amount by $5 in a month compared to 12 times by 12. If you times by 12, they have to pay over $150 for buying that kind of insurance. So we encourage them. Please understand that we encourage them to buy this insurance. So if they are forcing to buying that insurance, we are not getting any advantage of paying lower in the insurance. So I am against of putting $5 back to the contingency for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane?
Yes, I definitely preferred the option B, and I am just a little unsure as to why you want to increase the contingency, because you said the insurance went down. So what is it that you're thinking to do that? So if you could explain it, thank you.
Okay. The situation is that we have taken out money from legal and other areas, and we do not know what they bill. We do not know what water intrusion will be. We are just guessing on all of these things that would impact the contingency fund. If we do run into a fire or any of these things, our deductible will be $150,000. There are a number of things that can occur that we don't have control over, that we have no idea of what they're going to be. And we still do not know what our garbage is going to be because no contract has been signed on that. There are a number of unknowns going into this budget, and the only way we can protect the mutual is through the contingency fund. Now, we have the insurance people I have gotten a small update. We will get the full update tomorrow, but we have been able to look at a lower price probably for insurance. So I feel that a $5 increase is not a huge increase to our assessments, and it will protect us against any possible change. Manuel, you're next.
Thank
Can
you,
I
Sue.
respond?
Thank you, Sue.
Sure. Go ahead. Wait.
Okay. I have a number of reasons why I'm totally opposed to that, and I have facts here to support that. We had savings in 2020 because of COVID-19. I had pointed out at several meetings, for example, from operations, we had savings of $220,000, which is approximately $3 per manor per month. That was not taken into consideration when we did the budget for 2022. In addition to that, we had savings surplus in reserve fund contributions of the actual expenses being below the budgeted amounts by $3.8 million. That calculates out to $50 per manor per month. $50. And I push at the meetings to take that into consideration in arriving at the assessments for 2022. That was totally ignored. Now you come along with a $5 increase when some of that $50 per manor per month could have been used to reduce our assessments. It was totally ignored. So between operations and assessments, there's $53 per manor per month that's been ignored. And then you come along at the last minute proposing a $5 increase in contingency funds. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's like I said before when I talked about the occupancy agreement. It's real easy for VMS and certain directors to hold their hand out for more money. But when it comes to crediting future budgets, it's like pulling teeth. I don't understand. We are supposed to be representing the members out there. And you talk about $25 for RFID being expensive, and yet you think nothing of raising the assessment by so many dollars per manor per month. Some of these things are totally in conflict with your thinking. So again, these are valid reasons why we shouldn't even be considering what you're proposing. So let's go back and let's approve the budget was approved by the board in our last meeting, in our last special meeting. I think that should be enough to convince everybody that's the way to go. Thank you.
Manuel, the situation with the $50 that we took into account, and we reduced the contribution to the reserve fund by that amount. So
But no, you did
take
not.
that
$50? You did not. I can show you the numbers.
Okay. All right. Elsie's next.
I just wanted to say that at our special meeting, when we selected option 2, the options were just after another $5 reduction to part of it came from contingency and part of it came from services. So if we think insurance is going to go down, and if we increase just this part, we're still reducing the contingency fund. We're still, from what it was proposed, we're still reducing some services. And by just putting in this one thing, if we do this for a year, that's almost $1 million back into contingency. And a lot of these budget items are so skinned down. It says, well, if we exceed this, we'll come back to the board for money. Well, where are we going to get the money? Well, our contingency fund has been depleted, although now it's looking better. But I'm just suggesting that we increase this for at least a year, and that'll put almost $1 million back in the contingency fund with relatively little pain. And then you can always reduce it next year, but you can't always you can't just put $900,000 back into the contingency fund, just boom. But you can reduce this $5 at the end of the year if it's really necessary. Meanwhile, we'll have more of a buffer, because I really think we're looking at some special assessments if we don't have a contingency fund to offset some of these unexpected things. So that's what I wanted to say.
Carl, go ahead.
Madam President, I believe that there were words stated here in this meeting that we have left money on the table, and it kept on being said and over at every meeting that we have left money on the table, whereby we are just padding this budget. And as a result of that, I think that BMS, Mr. Campos, Mr. Hormuth, need to address that, because at this particular point in time, it's either true or it's not true. And if it's not true, then we need to say it, because right now, our constituents, our residents feel that we're leaving money on the table, and all we're doing is padding this budget. So really, we need to have somebody talk to that. Thank you.
Okay, Steve, would you like to go ahead and talk to that, please?
Sure, I'll start off with the operating surplus. So Director Armendariz, you mentioned that there was a surplus at the end of 2020. So as I presented back in, I believe, April or May, there was in fact a $404,000 operating loss. So there was in fact nothing left over from the operating perspective. So, however, with regards to the reserves, so there was savings, and I will have Jose jump on here in a second to discuss that, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I just want to remind everyone that as far as reserves are concerned, as Director Armendariz pointed out, we didn't spend as much as we thought we were. And so what happens with that money is that money is kept in your reserve account. So it is taken into consideration because you have those higher starting balances than you anticipated. You were able to get away with keeping or maintaining your contribution to the reserves. But I do want to point out that originally your reserves were supposed to increase by $1.8 million. The original plan for your reserves was for you to go up a substantial amount of money, over $20 per manor per month. So again, it's not money that has been left on the table. It's money that is in your own accounts, and it's money that you don't have to increase your assessment for because you have those funds in those reserve accounts. Madam President, you're muted.
We can't hear you. Oh.
I'm sorry, the baby cried. Andre, you're next.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on this issue. My point is that contingency fund is for operating fund. It should be based on VMS justification, not just given by the board. We are the customer. It's like a contractor comes to you and say, I need work on this one, and the budget is my budget is $1,500. And we're telling them, hey, you got a contingency fund. You don't have sufficient contingency fund. We'll give you $1,700. Nobody ever practiced that way. Okay, it's up to VMS to come and justify that number for us. The second thing is, if insurance saving will cover contingency fund for this $5, let's wait until the end of the year and move this $5, surplus of $5 into the contingency fund. It's the same thing. Okay, there's no need to say, oh, we anticipate it will happen, so we will have $5. We have a lot of issues, the savings. We want to know that how many other savings can we put in the contingency fund. That's what I'm looking for. The quality assurance management, well, that saves us the $5 for this one. Other plans, issues, how many of them will save us how much to put in that? Let's all put it together. Let's put a justification together. And that will help us to get a real budget rather than just say insurance will do it and then so we can do it now. Let's wait until the end of the year and see how much savings we have, and then we can do that. There's no need to rush and jump ahead and put money in there and says we will make it up later. All right. We also the savings. We would also like to see what else savings that we have. Seems like VMS did some good work, figure out insurance can save. Anything else that can save us? Please provide us justification on this issue, on the contingency fund, and let's work together, all right? Also, we don't have to make a decision now. Towards the end of the year, if there's any surplus, we'll remember that you promised, and we will give a big applause on your effort on that. Thank you very much.
We cannot do what you asked about insurance, because that is by a number that we have to put together. So the money that we save on insurance goes directly to the mutual owner or the unit owner. So that will not come into our coffers at all.
So by the end of the year, we can do that, right? We don't
No,
have to
we can't. You can't. It will not come into the coffers. We do not collect the insurance money in our assessment. It is a separate number that is put on each unit, and it's a different number per unit. So it will not be in the coffers. So that can't even be taken into account. Okay,
let's
thank
see what
you.
that number
Steve,
is, and we can talk about it.
Steve, go ahead. And then Azar will come.
Sure. My only comment was with regards to Dr. Torn, the contingency fund. So in both the version 2 and the version 3 budgets, so we did make a recommendation to increase the contingency fund. So, and then once again, in a special board meeting, it was the board's direction to lower that contingency fund. So a plan was provided, but based upon the board's decisions, it was reduced down to 0 for 2022.
Okay, thank you very much. Azar, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, one more time, I am repeating that we choose among those that recommended from VMS, and compared to reduction of the service, we chose to a reduction of contingency. One more time, I wanted to say $5 per man per month in a year, that means $60. By force kind of asking / forcing people to buy HOA 6, that's more than $60. Is between 150 to 200 that each person or each manor should pay. So there is no such a saving that you say, Sue, that we are saving from the insurance. Insurance is lower, therefore we put it that one. So anyway, is out of the pocket of residents more than $5 that you are saying, because they are buying insurance. We are encouraging them. Number 2, you are mentioning about the extreme things. If the fire happens, my dear, if the fire happens, $5 per manor, if you times the calculators in front of you, it's going to be 400,000. We're talking about 400,000 doesn't cover the extreme fire that you are saying. So we're not talking about million and $1 million. It's not $10 million, $20 million. We're talking about 400,000. So that doesn't make sense really by these extreme things that you bring into the table. Again, I am against of that because of this reason. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a vote on the amendment now.
Resident Margolis, we do have a resident comment.
Okay, let's have I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Grant. Please allow the resident to comment.
All right, this is going to come from Richard Rader. I am bringing him into the meeting now.
Please go ahead, Jick.
Thank you, Madam President. I think there's been too much focusing on the insurance and how it may affect the contingency fund. I want to go back to the last budget meeting. At the last budget meeting, BMS said that they could save $4 per man or per month by cutting certain areas. But they cautioned us and said that there's no buffer. And if the expenses exceed the budget, they will have to ask the board for more money. That's what the point is. That's point one. Point two, as I have often stated, as most of you know, the contingency fund is an emergency fund. It's your savings piggy bank. There have been many instances in the past where we have had to go to the contingency fund. Forget the insurance. There are many other items that come up whereby we have to do something and have to depend on that contingency fund. At the present time, if I'm correct, the contingency fund is about $1 million. Sounds like a lot of money, but can be rapidly depleted. And I wish I had examples, and maybe Steve or somebody could give examples where large amounts have been taken out in the past. So the most important point is this. What the board is doing now, if they approve this budget without the $5 increase in the contingency fund, they're gambling. They're gambling, a big gamble, that there will be no depletion of the contingency fund by not increasing the $5 per man or per month. That's what we're talking about. You guys too focus on trying to maintain the HOA fee the same year to year. And the bottom line is, this will be the third year which United's HOA fee, just United's HOA fee, which is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of United itself, having nothing to do with GRFs, have nothing to do with insurance or anything like that. It's been the same for 3 years. And if you do that, can you tell me that there will not be increases and major increases in upcoming years? Of course there are going to be. Be careful, be careful. Stop gambling and do the appropriate thing. This contingency fund needs to be buttressed. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl?
So at this particular point in time, we're going to vote on the amendment, and then we're going to bring if it fails, then we're going to bring the original back into the fold, and then we're going to have an opportunity to talk to that original one. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to start the vote for the amendment if there's no other comments that are needed. Cash?
Can you restate exact wording you want for this amendment?
Yes,
please?
I would like to see that the resolution be that we increase the assessments this year $5 in order to put money into the contingency fund.
I vote yes.
Elsie?
Yes.
Netta?
No.
I don't know who.
No.
That the
Manuel?
No.
history is written by the victims. And
Azar?
there was a movie.
No.
It was, I don't know if it was a book, but there was a
Diane?
There was a movie.
No.
Two movies done.
Carl?
Yes.
Andre?
No.
4 yeses, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 noes. It fails. Okay, now we vote on Is there any discussion on the resolution that is in the packet? Okay. Cash, how do you vote?
Yes.
Elsie?
No.
Netta?
I'm so sorry, Sue.
Madam Chair, we didn't get a chance to address the actual resolution that's on the table. We didn't get a chance to basically
Oh, okay,
debate
Carl,
that point.
I'm sorry. I asked if there was any discussion and I didn't see any hands go up.
Oh,
Are
I'm
there-
sorry. I guess I missed that.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
do have some discussion.
Go ahead, Carl. Please go ahead.
The original business plan presented at the meeting of August 12th called for an assessment increase of $10.40 for 2022. I was okay with that plan since I believe that there has been increases in costs that could justify this increase.
Excuse me, point of order, point of order. August 12th had nothing to do with this meeting.
Asshole.
August 12th had
Yes, it
nothing to do
does,
with
it
this
does.
meeting. We had a special meeting in September.
Manuel, you're out of order. Please mute
Point of
Manuel.
order.
I'm sorry, you're out of order. We're in discussion, and he can say whatever he pleases.
I have 3 minutes to say what I want to say regarding this particular issue.
Okay, start again, Carl. Manuel, please be quiet.
The original business plan presented at the meeting of August 12th called for an assessment increase of $10.40 for 2022. I was okay with that plan since I believe that there have been cost increases that would justify this increase. At that same meeting, a motion was made for VMS to find places where this increase could be dissolved to a $0 united assessment increase for 2022. For that vote, I abstained, figuring that the new board would need to live with the reduced assessment. However, when the board voted at September 9th meeting to utilize option B as a means of reducing our assessment, I felt that was short-sighted and I voted against it because that did not meet our fiduciary responsibilities. Today, I will be voting against this business plan because this plan does not provide funds to our contingency fund, and due to issues that may come up this year, I feel the contingency fund needs to be funded beyond the amount that will be available in it on December 31st. That is especially true when compared to option C, which would temporarily reduce grounds maintenance to 3 times this next year instead of 4. It was stated at that last meeting by residents in the audience that the need for grounds maintenance 4 times a year was not necessary. In fact, those people stated at that meeting that they chase away the grounds maintenance crews, thinking that the resident does a better job on the shrubs beds than they do. Truth be told, I do the same. Also, this option called for a reduction in the crews down to 6 from 8. And again, truth be told, we have not been able to staff many of these landscape positions due to a lack of manpower out there in the workforce. If there is a real place to save costs, it is with option C, having grounds maintenance 3 times this year instead of 4, and option D, funding the contingency fund, should be kept in place. I will be voting against that, and you have my vote now.
Okay, anyone else want
Grant.
to comment on?
Grant,
Okay.
Director
Voted
Armendariz
yes?
wants to comment.
yes,
Okay,
I'd like to
go ahead,
rebut
Manuel.
that statement. I have been going door to door talking to members, hundreds, and they're shocked at what they're facing as far as assessments. Because when they ask me about that, I'm telling them that in the basic assessment, there's still going to be about a $12 increase because of GRF. They had $8 million in surplus that wasn't considered in trying to arrive at their assessment, unfortunately. I was able to convince them at the first meeting that they had that they should use a credit for operations, which they did use, because originally they were contemplating a $25 increase, and the main reason they reduced it down to under $12 is because of the input I gave them. Now, when I go door to door, I still have, when they ask me about this, I still have to tell them, your assessment is still going to go up because your property tax is going to go up, and we have no control over insurance, okay? So this is important to recognize that this what's been proposed in this board meeting for the 2022 business plan is a bare bones minimum that we need to do for our members out there. So I'm going to vote yes on that. I'd like to have a vote.
I am taking a vote. You interrupted it, but that's okay. The next thing is that you realize that third is going up $93 in comparison to 5. So I don't understand your nonsense.
Madam President, could you please one more time explain what we are voting? Many people talking. We are voting on, may I say, we are voting on Plan B, deducting $5 from contingency. Is it correct?
That is correct. We're voting on the $5 as well as the other $5 in Plan B.
Okay, then my vote is yes.
President Margolis, we do have a resident comment as well from Richard Rader.
Okay, Mr. Rader, please go ahead.
Okay. I will bring him into the meeting now.
Thank you. Cash, why don't you go ahead while we're getting him? Oh, he's in.
Well, I would like to request everybody to keep foul language out of the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. If I'm hearing correctly from some board members, their thinking is if GRF increases their fees and if the insurance is increased, all of which we really don't have a lot of control over, then we should never increase United fees. That's false reasoning. United's fees are separate from the others. They maintain our United facilities, not facilities, but our residences, our common areas. So I can't understand why anybody would tell people, and scare people to say, oh, your fees are going to go up. Yes, they will, because they're independent. This board's responsibility, fiduciary responsibility, is to look at only what United needs. Stop worrying about what GRF is doing. Stop worrying about the insurance. I mean, you'll worry about it. You'll try to keep it as low as possible. So I recommend highly that you increase gradually each year, because I guarantee you, come next year, there's going to be a huge jump because we didn't take care of it this year. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving onward. Cash, I got a yes vote from you. Elsie, I got a no vote. Netta?
Yes.
Diane? Yes.
There's always a bias to it. There's always a perspective to it.
Andre?
I saw a movie and there's a scene with Pat Nixon and Richard Nixon.
Sorry. We will have hefty insurance rates. I'm not sure whether it's $93 or something like that.
No, we will not have a hefty insurance rate.
Let me finish up my statement.
Sure.
Okay. And we are having a $12 increase with the GRF. So we are somewhere around $100 increase on our assessment already, somewhere there. So at this point, I would say hold off to our operating budget and let's see what's happening there. And then next year, then we can talk about the realistically what's the impact. If our insurance rate is only $50, maybe we can come back and increase the contingency fund at that point. So let's hold off a little bit, wait until the uncertainty comes to realized, and then we can make decision. So my vote is yes at this point.
Okay, there are 3 no's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses. The insurance is not going to be large. I've already worked very hard to ensure that that doesn't happen. And I've been working very closely with our insurance broker, and we will be we have gotten a good set of brokers. Thank you.
Yes,
all right, we're moving on
to respond to your statement. We are not increased through assessment, but we are asking members to subscribe HO6, which will increase their insurance amount. So
Okay.
even though we are not increasing, they will overall they will be affected. Let's take a look at the overall strategy and see what's happening there.
Okay, we're moving on to,
Excuse me, Sue, so
13.
12C passes. It gets adopted, right?
yes, 12C passed. We're moving on to 12, where are we? We're on
13A.
on to 13A, which is a resolution. I'm sorry, I can't read what I've got here. Pet restriction. Elsie, would you give that, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Okay, this resolution for, this is item 3A and new business. And it's, there was an old, we were operating under a resolution that went back to prior to 2006. And so when we were cleaning up and governing docs, we were, the staff, was going through all the 2006, and what's significant about that is the pre-2006 resolutions all contained some copyrighted words that after 2005 were no longer allowed to be printed by the mutual. So we had to go back, and rather than go back and correct the thousands of pre-2006 resolutions, staff went through them to see which ones were still valid, and this is one that was still valid. And so it was mainly, and the 2005, the pre-2006 resolutions are accessible online, but it's an index. It's like a linked index, and you can request a redacted version of that document with a document request form. That's the only way you can get them, as opposed to resolutions that you can just pull up automatically online. So this was revised to eliminate copyright information, and there were two other little things. One was to, I'm going to 12B. There was a tiny little, I already talked about that. Okay, then we also wanted to incorporate some policies that the city of Laguna Woods had, and that was mainly in the resolution. That would be under conditions G, a maximum combination of 3 cats and dogs, no more than 2 of which can be dogs, are permitted. That's something that was new since 2006. So that's basically it. And there's a Scrivener, I think, on page 12B, 9 of 20. No, that's a different. Oh, that's a different Scrivener error. Sorry, there's no Scrivener errors. It's just that's the pet restriction. So we don't have one that's valid right now. So, but we enforced it. So it is valid, but we can't retrieve it. So now you can retrieve it, and it also has City of Laguna Woods requirements in it. So that's why I'm asking you to approve, to entertain a motion to adopt a resolution for pet restrictions.
Okay, is there a
Sorry,
second?
it was a long one, but the short version is three pets. That's what you said in this resolution?
Well, that's not the whole resolution. It also talks about leashes and common area and a lot of other things. But the one that comes from the city specifically is, yes, a total of 3, no more than 2 of which can be dogs.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Azar. Cash, you have your hand up. Is that about this?
Yes, I don't want to be too ticklish, but item 3E, the pet waste may be disposed of in trash containers should be changed to should be disposed of in trash containers. It's too
Oh,
illegal.
well, it says, well, for the first part of that says, I hear what you're saying, Cash. But the first part of it says, no person owning or having charge of any pet shall permit any excrement to remain in the common area. And I think they're just giving you a little suggestion that it's okay to put it in the trash containers. But I'll entertain something that would make it clearer to get it passed.
It should be, enforced. It should not just say maybe.
Well,
It
when you
should be
say
should be.
Well, when you say should be, well, it's going to be enforced. It says no owner shall permit any excrement to remain in the common area. And by saying may, I guess they're saying you have a choice. If you don't want to put it in the trash containers, you can put it in your own wastebasket. Ew, but if you want to. So.
Okay, whatever.
But it's a good point. I hear you. We can change the may to should.
Whatever. I don't want to create problems. That's
You want to
okay.
change it to shall? We can change it to shall.
Yeah, go ahead and change it to shall, and when we'll.
All right, so it'll say pet waste shall be disposed of in trash containers. Did you get that, Cheryl or Grant?
Yes.
Okay.
I made that change.
Thanks. Anybody have any more comments on this? All right, Cash, your vote.
How about ask if anybody is against?
Does anybody have any more discussion on this? Okay, Cash.
My vote with the change is yes.
Elsie.
Yes.
Netta.
I said ask if
Yes.
anybody is against.
Oh, okay. Is there anybody against this? I see what you're asking is I'm sorry.
I'm going to
Nobody- raise
abstain
your
because
hand.
I'm not sure whether this change was necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're done with that vote. Let's move on to 13B. which
Excuse me,
is-
ma'am. There's no change except for the part about the number of the dogs and cats.
No, he's not sure about the shall, or I don't, forget it.
Whatever. Okay.
Yeah. 13B, Carl, please.
13B, cancel all EV charging station applications for locations within United. At the last MNC committee meeting, we reviewed the Charge Ready 2 program. That is a Southern California Edison program where there will be where they will subsidize some of the costs associated with installing Class 2 electric vehicle chargers within the village. The woman this morning specifically addressed Class 3 chargers. That's not in this program. So as a result of that, they would only install Class 2 chargers and they would subsidize that particular cost. We were looking at installing some of these chargers within United. However, after reviewing arrangements of the deal with Southern California Edison that requires us to sign a 10-year agreement, and looking at the locations for where these things could be located within United, which would mean the loss of 4 to 10 parking spots that are currently at a premium within United, and then looking at some other issues, the committee decided that we should cancel any applications for the location of EV charging stations within United. What VMS had done is they had basically put in applications for Third, for United, and for GRF. We just looked at the applications for United and felt that it didn't suit us. It was discussed that it would be better to locate these EV chargers at certain strategic clubhouse parking lot areas, and this was corroborated by people that called in during the meeting. One of them was that lady. These clubhouse parking lots are centrally located within United and would be a better fit. I have provided an economic analysis to GRF and have petitioned them. I have personally provided an economic analysis to GRF and have petitioned them to utilize the money that SCE will be offering as a subsidy to install EV charging stations at certain strategically located clubhouses within the community. The clubhouses have the parking spaces available to make this change and also offer locations that would minimize the amount of cable that would need to be laid in order to locate them. I move that we cancel the applications with SCE to locate EV charging stations within United. Right, spiel.
Is there a second for this
I'll second
motion?
that motion.
Okay, is there any discussion? Andre?
Has any talk with the GRF that they will take up the load of these charges we're talking about?
We have no,
Thank you.
they
We
are
have-
looking at it.
We have discussed that with them. They're still pondering on that particular issue, but it doesn't make any difference. In United, it didn't make sense. It does not make sense, the 10-year agreement, the locations of where they could be located, because there are no strategic locations. And then one of the things that was discussed was the fact that if you put that charging station at point A, then the people that live on the other end of the village will basically get upset because they're not close enough to them. Clubhouses were centrally located, and it made sense based on the parking available in order to locate them, plus the amount of cable that would need to be run is less at the clubhouses than it would be at the laundry rooms and various other places. And SCE is looking at an economic analysis, and they can take our application and throw it in the trash if they find out it's going to cost them too much money to run cable. That's one of the things we looked at. We looked at it strictly scientifically, and that's why we decided against it at the MNC meeting.
Thank you, Carl. Cash?
Instead of totally eliminating or canceling, can we reduce the numbers?
No, we can't.
Director Armendariz
Okay.
would like to comment.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'm very much in favor of this. I'm very glad to see it. And I think it makes a lot of sense. So thank you, Carl.
Okay, is there anyone against canceling this? All right. we'll move on. Abstain. All right, Cash. We're moving on now to C. Carl, go ahead with this one.
The contractor violation policy was something, is Robbie here? Yes, okay. Contractor violation policy was something that was instituted within the architectural committee to address the fact that many of the people were complaining that they get hit with all of these. When the contractor does something wrong, the consequences of that doing something wrong is met by the member alone, and he has to pay for all of the specific repairs that need to be done. We're trying to get the contractor to own up to it and sign a document that puts him on notice that he will also be responsible for any damages. A contractor cannot be fined by us because they don't come under our purview, but we could try to basically get repair works monies back from them. So this policy was first presented at our board meeting on August 10th and was sent back to committee because it was thought that some of the language needed to be cleaned up in order to prevent any misinterpretations between the responsibilities of the resident versus the contractor. The language was cleared up and was reviewed by our attorney and by Reza, who made the point, and the policy, as presented in the agenda, is what was finalized. In this revised version, the resident is still responsible for any fines that may be assessed due to work not being performed in accordance with state, city, and manor alteration codes and standards. However, it is now stipulated that any damages and repairs caused by not following the state, city, and manor alterations codes and standards will be the responsibility of both the resident and the contractor. Let me just point out, with regard to the resident, we can take him to member hearings. With regard to the contractor, we cannot do that. We would have to sue him in court, and that would be something that has to be done on a case-by-case basis. And that suit would have to be brought before a city judge or what have you, okay? It's not done within the community because we have no control over him. The resolution is as follows. Whereas, the purpose of the contractor violation policy is to enact a unilateral and unambiguous matrix of penalties for contractors who violate current mutual rules and obligations or exceed the scope of approval for a project. And whereas this pending resolution would make the contractor violation policy permanent and provide a clear template for invoking penalties, inclusive of temporary or potentially permanent suspension from work within Laguna Woods Village, reduction of MC lifespan to 90 days, superseding the resolution of 012-159. Let me just add to that regarding the 90 days. We're trying to impose the 90 days on them, but be aware of the fact, and we also noted in the violation policy, that if the person needs more than 90 days, because some of these jobs may take up to 6 months, then he can ask for it. Whereas the United ACSC and Manor Alterations agree that contractor violation policy will be effective, and both recommend the approval of the United ACSC. Now therefore be it resolved, on today's date, the United Mutual Board hereby approves the contractor violation policy as attached to these minutes. So if you have any comments, questions, or what have you, I'd be willing to entertain them. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, is there any discussion? Is there anyone against this motion? All
So
right.
I just wanna, in the first of the meeting, we are talking about this violation contract, and Carl described why in the one of the option that I think is number 4, the first they are talking about the member and then member and the contractor. Would you please, Carl, I just wanted to resident hearing too. You describe it, why it's different here, and it's kind of confusing. Can you describe it again? Thank you.
Please go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I had to turn my mic on. Hold on one
Thank
second,
you.
please. Give me a second. Okay.
Page 14 out of
I understand. Both on the demolition application form and on the alteration application form, item 4 says, and I read it, and so did Jeff Beaumont, and so did Reza. It says that the member understands and agrees that the member is responsible for and will bear all costs in connection with all alterations or improvements and remediations required to complete the alteration or improvement, meaning he is responsible for the work that needs to get done to change your toilet bowl, to change your vanity, to do whatever needs to be done for remediation, for alteration, for improvement. He's responsible for all that cost. We, the United, is not responsible for any of that cost. Second part of that clause, it states, the member and contractor will be responsible for any costs associated with remediation, cleanup, or repair of mutual owned or controlled property caused by or resulting from alterations or improvements or the installation thereof as a result of the contractor not following the protocols and policies outlined in the mutual rules and regulations, mutual consent form, and the contractor violation policy. That second sentence addresses itself to the actual damages and repairs that are required when the guy didn't follow the rules and causes us a lot of damage. And then the member would normally have paid for that, but now we've specifically said that the member and the contractor will be responsible for any damages and repairs as a result of him not following the protocols and the standards and the various other documents that we have given him that he uses as part of the permit to do this work. That's why there's 2 separate entities there.
Thank you, Carl. Cash?
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Cash? Okay, is there any?
No, hold on. I'm having a little problem. On page 2 of 14, you're saying no financial analysis provided, and then you further conclude saying that you have times 24 estimate. Well, why do you want to do that? Did I make myself clear or no?
I'm looking at it. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm looking at it on the
Okay.
screen, and the
Okay.
thing right now is okay. Maybe Robbie can address this, okay? But I'm not. I'm a bit confused as to what this is. 2 of 14.
Robbie, do you have an answer?
The financial analysis addresses only one aspect of the cost savings, which would be we have experienced a lot of what is called a P5 AQMD asbestos release. It's an emergency release because of contractors starting work when it is in contrary to their license provisions, contrary to the city contractor ethics contractor board, and this $11,214.72 is a reduction in a cost savings relating to P5 asbestos releases, which are not only a true dollar amount incurrence that the mutual has to incur to mitigate the risk to the village, to your mutual, but it doesn't account for the time that Manor Alteration spends in these types of events as well. And this just causes more paperwork back to staff, their management of these issues, and this is one of the reasons that Manor Alterations is seeking assistance from the mutual to allow Manor Alterations the ability to get rid of those contractors that just refuse to adhere to the current rules and regulations. Thank you.
Okay, does that answer it for you, Cash?
Not really. I'm more confused, but I'll let it go. Thank you.
And Azar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. May just someone call or Ruby explain about that page 14 of 14, number 2. You said, I'm reading, we, member and contractor, understand that we will be in non-conformance if we do not conform to mutual rules and regulation, and that the member may be. That word may be, that means yes, maybe, maybe not. It's not like should, we should have. So why we cannot put contractor there as well? Because as Carl explained very well, they said for all the cost is on the member, but member and we cannot, as Carl explained, they said we cannot bring the contractor to the hearing, but we can bring member to the hearing. Well, we can take, maybe we can take contractor to the, I don't know, we sue them and take them, it takes case by case, as Carl says. Because it's possible to put another maybe for contractor there. Is it possible?
No, that second clause specifically addresses itself to fines. We cannot fine any of these people. The contractors cannot be fined. We got that legally checked out by Mr. Beaumont, and he was very specific. We cannot fine them.
Yes, but you mentioned in the early, as maybe I didn't understand correctly, but you mentioned that we cannot fine them. Well, we may take them or sue them.
And that's what it says in clause number 4. Clause number 4 specifically says for damages we're going to sue them for, not for fines, only for damages. We can only basically get back from them any damages and any restoration and any remediation that needs to be done as a result of them not following the rules. But as far as a fine is concerned, we cannot fine them. And our lawyer was very specific about that.
Yes, I understand we cannot fine, but we
and that's what
clause 2 is about fining. So that's why it doesn't include contractors.
So number 2 is about the fining.
Yeah.
That's what you are trying to say?
That's correct.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
We can
Okay.
only fine the residents. And, you know, the resident can go to our mutual hearings and specifically, you know, go for the mercy of the court or what have you, okay? But we cannot do that with the contractor because he's not somebody that we can address from that perspective because he's not a resident of this community. We only fine residents. The
Okay.
contractor, however, we can sue the contractor for monies that he owed us as a result of the fact of the damages that were caused by him.
I'm going to call
And
for the vote. Is there anybody against this? All right, it passes unanimously. Let's get on to committee reports. All right, so we're on to finance report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we have the first slide?
Bathroom.
Thank you. Through the reporting period of July 31st, 2021, total revenue for United was $27 million compared to expenses of $24.9 million, resulting in net revenue of $2.25 million. You can see that one at the end of this page. Can we have a slide 2, please? Thank you. In finance, we keep a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results. The operating fund without depreciation and property taxes shows an operating surplus of $729,000 that is showing in the last row in this page through this reporting period. This chart shows how much of revenue went into operation with a $12.5 million and coming in from assessment of $646,000 for non-assessment. This is compared to operating expenditures of $12.6 million. Can we have a slide 3, please? Thank you. In this chart, we take the full income statement and compare those results to budget. You can see on the second column is the budget. So we can see the United ended the period better than budget by $3.6 million when combining both operating and reserve savings. Can we have number 4 slide, please? Thank you so much. The most significant variance from budget were attributable to this following. The first one you can see is outside service with $2.5 million. This is based on budgets are spread evenly for programs such as baseline remediation, building structures, countertop, floors, shower exclosure, plumbing, and water line copper pipe. And the next one is employee compensation, which comes with $757,000 favorable variance resulting primarily in the Department of Maintenance and Construction and Landscape. Saving occurred in landscape where shrub bed maintenance was outsourced, creating savings in labor hours. You can see the next one is material and supplies, about $507,000 favorable variance, resulting in several areas of operation, such as interior components, plumbing, and appliance. The board allowed residents to refuse entry for appliance replacement through June 15, causing less replacement of items such as water heater and refrigerators. The next one is legal fee. which is favorable 98,000. Favorable variance result due to lower expenditures to date than anticipated. The budget for legal fee is a contingency which fluctuates from year to year. The last two is unfavorable. Unrealized gain loss on investment, which is unfavorable variance about 249,000 due to adverse condition for bond investment during the reporting period. And the last one is utilities and telephone, which is again unfavorable, about 226,000, unfavorable due to less seasonal rainfall. Budget was based on 5 years average of water consumption. However, seasonal rainfall through July was 35% lower than 5 years average during the same period. Can we have slide 5, please? Thank you. You can see in this pie chart, we show non-assessment revenue earned to date of 945,000, excluding the unrealized loss on available for sale investment. If you include the unrealized loss on investment, non-assessment revenue total will be 769,000. Revenue is organized by category, starting with our largest revenue generating category fee, and which is fee and charges, 37%, and followed by laundry, resale, processing fee, and so forth. Can we have slide 6, please? On this pie chart, we see the expenses to date of 25 million, showing that our largest category of expenses is for compensation, as usual, property and sale tax, followed by utilities, outside service, insurance, and go all the way to the materials and supplies and others, which is not showing in this chart percentage. I don't know why. Can we have a slide 7, please? Here we go. In this slide, we have the percentage. On this slide, we see the same expenses and without property tax and sales tax. So you can see employee compensation goes to 45%, followed by utility 15%, outside service 14%, and all the way goes to the net allocation to mutual of 4% and others 2%. And in slide 8, please. Our fund balance are shown here. The contingency fund balance on July 31st, 2021 was 836,000. Contribution and investment revenue total 436,000, while expenditures came in at minus 29,000. So the reserve fund balance on July 31st, 2021, as you can see in the last row, is 21 million. Contribution and investment revenue collected total 6.2 million, while expenditures were about 5.1 million. The newly added property tax fund balance on July 31st, 2021 was 86,000, which you can see contribution and investment revenue collected total 7.1 million. However, the expenditures were almost 7 million. Can we have slide 9, please? We compare this slide to historical fund balance for the past 5 years on the chart, which has the average of 21 million, and you can see that we are right in the good position. Tiny line that you can see. And in slide 10, we have a slide here to show resale history, which is important for many of our residents from 2019 to 2021. Through July 31st, 2021, United States total sale was 269 units, which is 96 units higher than prior year for the same time period. The average year-to-date resale price for a United Mutual Manor was $268,000, which is $15,000 higher than previous year in the same time period. And that concludes my report from the finance and resale history.
Elsie, could you give the architectural, please? Cash your hands up. Excuse me, cash your hands up.
Yeah, I have a few questions. If you let me get back to the page. Okay, slide 3.
Okay.
Our total expenses budgeted at $28,850,000. Why is that budget so high when the last budget we were already, the actuals were only 24,900. Why are we over budgeting?
These are, I don't think so, is over budgeting is true this July 31st, and some of this budgeting you can see is evenly, as I explained, is in the period. Some of the project, especially outside services, is coming in the second part of the year. This is only for July 31st.
What was that number for the previous 2020?
I don't have in my hand for 2020.
To me, it looks like we are trying to provide budget more than what we need.
No, this budget will be used later. I mean, it's not done yet. This is not the end of the year.
Cash, we don't do a lot of the things until October, such as cleaning the gutters. And we don't get our bills from our vendors on time. So there's a lot of things that are not taken care of in a timely fashion. They will be.
Slide 4, I have another question.
Okay.
We are showing an outside service favorable of $2,594,000.
Yes.
And at the same time, we are showing favorable employee compensation. To me, it looks like cutting staff, and we are getting savings by doing the work in-house. We are cutting staff and doing more work in-house?
No, it's not cutting the staff. It's favorable at this point because, as you see, we are hiring. We are short in some staff. So, and as soon as they get it, and I read it, why is the reason is this budget that you can see is for through the year. And at this point, at this period is like that one. Maybe next month is not be like that.
Okay, I have one last little minor question here. Is this after? Yeah, on page 8, slide 8. Current balances at 21 million. Is this after or before taxes and expenditure? 21 million 280.
This is only fund and not the investment and liability. Is only fund and is after expenditures. You can see expenditures is 5.1. Is the top of is this 1, 2, 3. Can you see expenditures in the third?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And one last minor thing on page 9. You're showing replacement fund. Is that same as a reserve fund?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
We should use the same terminology. We don't need to.
Well, this is what VMS using, replacement fund rather than reserve fund.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Elsie, go ahead with the architectural, please.
Sue, I had a question on the finance report.
Okay, go ahead, Manuel.
Can you tell me what that $29,000 expenditure was out of the contingency fund? It was $29,000 spent. What was it for?
Which one you are talking? In which page?
On the contingency fund, there was 29,000. I don't see Steve. We'll have Steve tell us when we get a chance. Siobhan, could you get Steve to look that up?
We will.
Thank you. Go ahead now, Elsie. Elsie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I get to go ahead now. I'm cool, right?
Right.
Okie doke. This won't take long. The meeting of the Architectural and Control Standards Committee was held on August 19th. It was I just went blank there. Sorry. Okay, the items for discussion were they've done a lot over in architecture. Some of it's at the initiation of it's initiative by staff, and some of it is after being directed. But anyway, we listened to the minutes of we looked at the minutes of the City of Laguna Woods meeting that was held that involved executives from VMS as well as executives from the City of Laguna Woods, kind of like a kind of hashing out some issues that had been ongoing and addressing specific examples. That was very interesting. And then also, Robbie has made up a manor alterations facts sheet that answers a lot of questions, frequently asked questions regarding manor alterations. And then the bulk of the meeting was spent on going over the contractor violation, some questions from version 4.2 and updates from version 6.9. And the final, it was passed again and sent to the board, and we voted on it today. So the next meeting will be held on September 19th at 9:30 in the morning. And it will be a hybrid meeting, I believe, but you never know. But that's what it's supposed to be. Thank you.
And Carl will be leading that meeting. Okay. Cash, member hearing.
We had 2 delinquent accounts and 9 disciplinary cases dealt and taken care of.
Okay, thank you. Elsie, governing doc. Elsie?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. I'm here. My mouse is my mouse has the flu. Anyway, on August 19th, 2021, same date, was the governing documents review committee for United, and we reviewed, surprise, surprise, the pet restriction presented by staff, and we voted on that today at today's meeting and put it on the 28-day list. The items for discussion, and we had several goals at the beginning of the year, and we met all of them thanks to cooperation on the committee and thanks to staff. And part of that was make the documentation on the operating rules, and to make the operating rules more usable, to develop a guidebook. And that was done, making sure that active resolutions were accessible on the website. We talked about that earlier with the when I was describing the pet restrictions, which was one of the resolutions prior to 2006. We wanted to make those accessible on the website. And that was done. Director standard operating procedures to be used in the new director's handbook. And that was done. All this was completed. Review financial requirements. There were several tweaks, not so much to the requirements as to the documentation requirements, and those have all gone through committee and then gone to the board. And Mary Stone, one of our advisors, did a one-page explanation of resident procedures, which is another one of our goals, and to review the sublease requirements, which was something that Director Atrakar wanted us to do, and we did. And so anyway, it was a successful few months, and the next meeting has been canceled, which would have been on September 16th, but instead it's probably going to be on October 23rd with the new board. Thank you very much.
Okay, landscape, Manuel.
Thank you, Sue. The last meeting that United had for landscaping was held on September 9th. And at that meeting, of course, we had the usual request for either tree trimming or tree removal. We were able to decide all those on a favorable basis for the members. The big item that came up was pine tree removal project. And that was something that was brought up back in March of 2021. And here's what the staff report says. It says the United Board and Landscape Committee requested the staff investigate the possibility of removing mature pine trees which exhibit at least one of the following characteristics. There are groves of trees, their health is declining, the building conflicts with roofs and gutters, there are dense canopies causing poor turf growth, there are dense canopies causing an abundance of leaf pickup tickets or infrastructure damage. The staff landscape department went out and reviewed a total of 1,329 pine trees. That's all that's in United Mutual only. And after reviewing all those, they came up with a recommendation that 393 trees, pine trees, and this is only pine trees, should be removed because they definitely were causing problems that I mentioned. And so the committee agreed with staff, and the next thing that's going to happen is the staff is going to go out and bid the cost of these trees, of removing these trees. It is estimated that the cost is going to be around $490,000, but we won't actually know until the work is actually bid out. The committee recommended to staff that perhaps once we have these bids and it's approved, that we ought to try to have a 3-year contract so that the work can be spread out over 3 years and minimize the cost per year. Kurt Weeman advises that he will now take the direction from the committee and go out to bid on these. And then once he obtains the bids, then that will be presented to the board at a closed meeting. The next Landscape Committee meeting is scheduled for October 14th at 9:30 a.m. as a virtual meeting. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Diane? Casey?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I live on Mallorca, and across the street from me, 3 absolutely gorgeous, beautiful pine trees that weren't doing any of the things that Manny has just talked about, and they were removed just because a woman didn't want them. Now, and they weren't even by her house, you know, but she complained and they took them out, and it was a tragedy to see those trees come down. You know, I mean, this hurts our environment. If they're good, healthy trees, I see that there are some that aren't healthy because they're not getting watered. You know, I have a gorgeous redwood tree in front of my house, and, you know, it's healthy, but I saw another redwood die a couple of years ago. So, you know, I mean, I think we don't need to just say, let's get rid of all these trees. We really have to decide, are they really damaging our association, our buildings? And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Cash?
Well, I thought we didn't want to remove any trees. We are against cutting trees down, and we are cutting all the pine trees? Or did I hear it wrong?
We are against cutting healthy trees down. If they are unhealthy, we have an overabundance of trees. And that landscape department is.
Diane just said there were 3 healthy trees that were cut.
I have no idea about that situation. We'll move on to M&C. that needs to be explored differently.
Now, I have a question for Manuel. Is he making sure the trees that are being cut are dead trees and not healthy trees?
Sue, do you want me to comment on that?
Manuel?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
The reason this has been requested, and like I said, the landscape department does recommend it, is because these trees are causing problems. They're not just going to remove a pine tree just to satisfy somebody. This is for the general health of all the trees. For example, many of these trees were planted in groves. They were planted when they were small little trees. And of course, they're outgrowing that space. And you might have a situation where they're planted in, let's say, the shrub bed areas. And you could have about half a dozen of them all in a row right there. And so their plan is to weed these out. And it's for the health of the trees and to better the landscaping. Thank you.
Thank you. We got to move on because it's over after 12. We're going to go through M&C, and then that's the last. We're going to go through only the United meetings. So go ahead, Carl, with M&C, please.
Okay, United M&C committee meeting met on August 25th. At that meeting, we addressed a number of issues. First off, we reviewed the project log, which lists all the major work projects and programs that we are working on in United. This is in addition to the day-to-day maintenance activities. At the meeting, we went through a thorough review of these items since I felt it was important that we have a snapshot at the end of the board year, since the new board will be seated in October. And this was going to be my last M&C meeting as a member of the United board and as chair of the United M&C committee. Here's a small list of project log items that we discussed. We discussed the change out of the Pushmatic electrical panels. 275 will be done this year. The prior to paint program, we're now currently on a 15-year cycle, and we're on schedule to complete the units that we're supposed to be doing this year. The epoxy waistline remediation program, that's on track to basically be done this year, and the ones that we are planning to do will be done. Exterior fencing, we have the program of 300 feet of exterior fencing will be, the barbed wire fencing will be replaced with Shepherd's Crook fencing every year per the requirements of the city. And right now we're scheduled to replace 300 feet of fence behind Mother's Market and Wells Fargo Bank. The next topic that we discussed was the Charge Ready 2 program, and I won't bore you with that details because I just went through that whole process when we made that motion. Our next topic was appliances. This is another thing that people don't understand, so I'm going to go into it a little bit more detail. The M&C department is in charge of the appliance program. As everyone I hope knows, if you have not shared your manor, have not altered your manor within United, the appliances in your manor are owned by United and are maintained by VMS. First of all, appliances age out based on a statistical formula that is used. If you have an appliance that belongs to United and you feel that the appliance may have aged out, then please contact Resident Services to see if it actually has aged out, and you can obtain a new standard appliance. Also, with regard to this topic, we then discussed if there was a backlog in the ordering process of appliances due to the pandemic. VMS responded that for certain models and types, the manufacturer is experiencing delays, so the residents should be aware of that if they're in the middle of this process. Please also be aware that this only applies to United-owned appliances. As I just stated, if you have an alteration in your manor that included an appliance or you live in third, then the change out of that appliance is on you because your appliance is not owned by United. We also discussed other topics that I presented on TV6 on September 3rd, so you can YouTube that, and you can watch that on YouTube. And then the next M&C meeting is scheduled for October 27th at 9:30. Please come and join the meeting and get involved. Complaining without doing something to help is not really a good philosophy. Remember the old adage, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I believe that you should try to be part of the solution. And that's my report, Madam Chair, Madam President.
Okay, Diane Casey, quickly, because we want to have a break for lunch.
Okay, yeah, it's really quick. Just on Carl's last comment about manner alterations. So if a person buys the equipment, the appliances from Laguna Woods, but yet has redone their kitchen or bathroom or whatever it is, they remodeled it, changed the way those appliances fit in and all that, are they still covered under this appliance issue?
Yes, they are.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay.
If the appliance belongs to United, it still will be maintained by United, even though it was located in some other location.
Okay.
Okay, the last is resident advisory, Netta.
So is that Andre? Because
No,
I wasn't that
the
meeting.
last meeting was the other day, and you were there.
Oh, okay, because even on the in the document that we have, it says Andre. But anyhow, none of the residents come to the meeting, unfortunately. And after a half an hour, we stayed there. We just leave the building. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm
There
sorry.
is another resident advisory before that.
Okay, go ahead, Andre.
There are 4 members join our discussion. One of them wants to learn more about the committee and the board operations and interest in spreadsheets and the expenses. So we recommended that member to attend the finance meeting and or the project log meeting of different committees. The second member talk about the plumbing issues with the Madrid models, and it's a little bit too complicated for us to really answer that, so we refer them to the MPC meeting. The third one talk about neighborhood nuisance issues. They are constantly bothered by neighbors enjoy reporting violations of their activities. So we advise them to involve these, relieve their headaches, and report to the work with compliance department. And another one is landscape crew disrespect them, the members, lack of experience and lazy on their job. Also has remodeling problems with contractor before he bought the unit. And we asked them to her to attend the landscape committee for her complaints, get more immediate response. Also informed her that remodeling problem is not the responsibility of United Mutual. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to, we're not going to talk on the GRF committees. We're going to take a lunch break until, it's right now until 1 o'clock. I'm going to give you 45 minutes for lunch today.
President Margolis?
Yes.
Steve Formoth did put something in the chat about a question that Director Armendariz had asked earlier. He put in that Director Armendariz had asked about.
Yes, I just quickly say, Steve, you wanted to explain? Okay, I want to just answer what Manny asked about that 29,000. Is a reversal from the last year? Yes, Manny. But if Steve is here, he can explain. Of course, you can explain better. But it is a reversal, that's why it's negative. And if you add all of those 3 numbers, we're going to end up with 836,000. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so correct. We ended up with a $32,000 contingency fund reduction in the month of August. So it was primarily due to damage restoration. So as more invoices come in, we will go ahead and accrue for those invoices as well for the current year. So in short, it was due to a reversal of an accrual.
Okay. Any other questions? Or
I didn't quite understand that. What did he say about the 29,000? I couldn't.
He said it was a reversal because they put it against, a water intrusion against contingency, and they needed to put it against water intrusion.
I thought we weren't doing that anymore. That's why I asked.
That's why it was reversed. It was reversed. They gave us back our money.
Okay, so that 29,000 will disappear next month. 29,000 will disappear next month, right?
It disappeared this month.
I didn't understand what Grant was trying to insert in. You were saying something.
He was saying the same thing as Steve said, as everybody said. A mistake was made and $29,000 was put against $29,000 of water intrusion was put against contingency fund. And so it was taken back out and we have $29 more in the contingency fund.
So if I may clarify real quickly, it wasn't a mistake. It was an accrual from the prior year. So we had that dollar amount on the books as of December 31st, 2020. Those invoices did not come in. We followed up with the vendor, and therefore the expense was reversed and the money was contributed back into the contingency fund.
Okay, it was not a mistake. It was just an invoice, late invoice. Okay. Juanita. Juanita?
Okay, are we back at 1, did you say?
That was what I was saying, but Juanita has her hand up. I was hoping she would get to speak, but she doesn't seem to be.
Maybe when we're back.
When we're back, okay.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you, Sue, and Directors Addington and Randosa for the extreme amount of time and effort and commitment that you have given to this mutual over the last few years. We're sorry to see you go. Most of the people out there, the residents, have no idea all of the effort and time that you put in behind the scenes to keep this mutual running and running well. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the three of you and wish you well in any new endeavors.
And I second that emotion.
Just an advisory, this
Thank
is
you,
Grant. There will be a separate link for a closed session, which was emailed to you prior.
Okay, everybody aware of the second link? If you have any problems.
What is the new link?
So did we get by email?
Yeah, we got it by email.
Oh, okay.
This morning.
Okay, so we're leaving right now. Thank you.
Could you send over again? Because I think I got mixed up there.
We absolutely
Send
can.
it over again. Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
And
All
thank
right.
you, Juanita.
Grant, I
meeting
don't
is
have your email.
Recessed.
Thank you.